Athens. Welcome to Athens Kaleidoscope. This is Nan Michael, and I'm here with my co-producer, Jane Penwell.
I thought you forgot my name there for a minute.
Otherwise known as Crone and Motormouth.
I'm Motormouth, in case you didn't know.
They must have known that.
I would think, but we might have new viewers that have never experienced this before. We got these names from a viewer, by the way.
Well, first off, I'd like to mention the Elliott Coleman courthouse episode that was caught on the front page of the A News. And I couldn't get in touch with Elliott, or I would have interviewed him. It seems that our phone number we have for him is not his current phone number. So, and John Spofford, who probably has Elliott Coleman's phone number, his phone was off the hook all day. So, but I wanted to tell one kind of interesting little tidbit from that case, which is when they got the photo of the person that was putting something on there not approved on the courthouse's listing of churches, that is, their camera picked up the person who did it.
Mm-hmm.
And
their security camera.
Elliott got a copy of that, and the police did also. Well, the police went to the home of John Spofford, two officers, and knocked on his door and said they had a summons for him, and they interpreted that as a picture of him when it was a picture of Elliott Coleman. So I thought that was, John had to persuade them that he doesn't look like that. Exactly.
Which you would think if they had the picture they could see for themselves. But.
Well, they kind of jumped to the conclusion. They probably said, well, that sounds like a John Spofford kind of thing.
Well, what did this Elliott guy actually do? I don't understand. I didn't see the A News today.
What he actually did was post non-church information on the rectangle that has church information.
Oh.
And it may be that the most recent label he put on covered some of the others up.
Oh,
I'm not sure. But
a heinous crime.
And what is really funny is that when they got him, and he went back again and did it again, they brought him into the courthouse proper and sat him down and told him not to leave. And he said, well, right across the street is my car, and it needs money in the meter. And here are my quarters, and if you just let me go across the street and put money in the meter, then that's fine. They said, no. They said, well, you can come with me and watch that I don't go away. And they said, no. And after a while, he said, well, this is ridiculous. So he went on across the street, put the quarters in, came back, and they said, now we have you for escape.
Escape? Was he actually arrested?
Not at that point. They waived the escape charge.
I would think.
But then they put him in handcuffs.
Oh, dear.
And took him, I guess, not sure whether it was the sheriff's or the police, to do whatever they do. But I thought that's just
They took him to get booked.
Little update on one item of news.
I assume that. I don't know that.
And he used to be head of the ACLU locally. And he feels strongly about the separation of church and state. Very strongly. So,
Well, I guess, I mean, there's a long history in the world of civil disobedience, you know, from Gandhi, Martin Luther King. I mean, there's a long history of that, and I
and
guess
also of church and state mixing up together.
problems with that, yes. So I understand. I mean, obviously he thought he should take a stand, and that's how he thought he should do it.
Now, I don't know what happened in court. He went to court, and I guess they scheduled his real trial. But that wasn't in the A News, and I haven't been able to reach Elliot. And so, Elliot, if you'll reach me, maybe we can go a little further along this.
Right, stop speculating and
Right.
hear what really happened.
Well, I didn't have any video footage of Elliot or John or the photo, obviously. So I went back and took a little few clips from an older David Cobb video where he is talking about anger. And we'll take a look at that now.
Thank you, Pat. My name is David Cobb. I like to say I am a proud, I am a patriotic, and these days I am a pissed off American citizen. Yeah? All right, good. I'll make no bones about it. I consider myself a progressive, and I wear that political label and title with pride. And I think that as a progressive, that we make a mistake if we somehow allow the conservative movement or the Tea Party to claim some sort of monopoly on outrage in this country. You know, because mostly how they articulate that outrage is the fact that Wall Street and the big banksters destroyed the economy, and then the government rewarded them with $700 billion of our tax dollars. Well, you know what? I'm angry about that too. How about you? Yeah? We can't let we can't allow the right wing to be the only voice that's articulating what I will call a righteous indignation. And I do want to be clear about something, folks, that there is a level at which anger is appropriate. Right? Yes. I mean, now, if you get angry about something and you spend your whole life in anger, you got a problem. But if you don't get angry about the fact that 20% of the children of this country go to bed hungry at night, then I suggest maybe you've got a different kind of problem. If you're not angry about the fact that we are engaged in practices that are clearly driving our country and this world over an edge, then you've got a problem. And I want to point out something, that every great social movement in this country was actually fueled at the initial stages by a kind of righteous anger. The abolitionists were angry at the pathology of owning other human beings. That is sick, and they were angry about it, and they were righteously angry about it. Women who gathered together at Seneca Falls were angry about the fact that they were not treated like human beings and didn't have rights under the law. People were angry about the fact that children were put to work in coal mines. People were angry about the fact that they got shot at when they tried to organize for better working conditions, and they were angry about the fact that it was a criminal conspiracy. It was against the law to organize your fellow workers to demand better working conditions or better rights. They were pissed, and they should have been.
Well, anger does motivate. It can get out of hand, obviously, but I think David Cobb makes a good point. The poor voter turnout in Athens is something to be ashamed of. I don't know whether they included the students that didn't vote in that tally or not, but some people have gotten so discouraged they just say nothing, you know.
No, yeah.
With the,
nothing I can do is going to make a difference.
Right, with the Citizens United thing and money counting for votes, how are you ever going to get any place? But something else to be concerned about
Yeah, or you
in
can
this world.
angry if you like, you know,
Yeah.
what makes you angry.
And you brought us a topic today that we can be concerned about and do our bit or more to help with.
I wish we could do more. I mean, we can do stuff here in Athens, but this issue of the floating garbage islands in the oceans gets me mad, if you want to talk about mad or angry, I guess we'll say. You know, the idea that people just toss stuff in the ocean. Plastic water bottle, poop, pop, off your boat, toss it in the ocean. Well, it never disappears. Now take a look at this picture. That's the United States, as you can see, and over on one side and China on the other. Japan, you can see just a little speck of. Those two things are floating island debris, floating islands of debris in the Pacific. And I have some information here from National Geographic. They say the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is a soupy collection of marine debris, mostly plastics. It just about makes me sick, but I'll keep going. The garbage patches in the Great Pacific are not the only marine trash vortex, it's just the biggest. So those are the biggest, but they're not the only ones. The Atlantic and Indian Oceans both have trash vortexes. Even shipping routes in smaller bodies of water, such as the North Sea, are developing garbage patches. So it's all from humankind saying, oh, just throw that in the ocean. Oh, whoop, just throw that over. Won't make any difference.
It's not necessarily people actually putting it in the ocean, but in the streams and the rivers that empty into the ocean.
Well, yeah, it's
carrying
that too,
it.
but
Yeah.
listen to this one. Strange cargo. Now, let's look back at that picture. You see it's a circle there, right?
Yeah.
And that's the vortex. That has always existed. In other words, due to the currents, the ocean currents. That's always been there. But now it's picking up all this trash. Listen to this. When ships are caught in storms, they often lose cargo to the oceans. The following are just a few of the strange items that have washed up on shores. In 1990, 5 shipping containers of Nike sneakers and work boots were lost in the Pacific in a storm. People in Washington and Oregon snatched up the shoes on shore, holding swap meets to find matched pairs. In 1992, rubber duckies floated in those vortexes, both of them, when a ship lost tens of thousands of bathtub toys.
Oh.
Imagine that. The ducks were accompanied by turtles, beavers, and frogs. In 1994, a ship lost 34,000 pieces of hockey gear, including gloves, chest protectors, and shin guards. So, on the way back to our home in Long Beach, California, we decided to take a shortcut through the gyre. That's what they call that ocean of trash, a gyre, which few seafarers ever cross. Fishermen shun it because the waters lack the nutrients to support an abundant catch. Sailors dodge it because it lacks the wind to propel sailboats. Yet as I gazed from the deck at the surface of what ought to have been the pristine ocean, I was confronted with, guess what?
What?
Hockey gear. It was floating in there. It had all washed off the ship, and then it was floating in there. And you could have gone out there and picked it up, you know, if you wanted to. So whatever goes in the ocean, if it's not biodegradable, it stays there. So if plastic stuff gets in the ocean, and however it gets there, I don't care, you know, ships, obviously shipping containers lost in storms are going to be a huge contributor. But it also says here that there are cargo ships that just dump debris. You know, like if you're on a ship, I've taken
They
cruises.
should have rules about that, laws
Yeah.
about that.
But It's out in the ocean. Nobody owns that. It's free. You know, it's not, nobody has the right to patrol or police the open ocean. You only can patrol or police it out to the end of your boundaries, which is, I think, 6 or 7 miles offshore. So that's why, and all these fishermen from all over the world, from all these different countries, are out there fishing. They don't care a thing about this, you know, it's not an issue for them. So it's really scary what's getting dumped into the oceans.
And that's what people looking for that missing airplane ran into.
Yes.
Was all that plastic. They haven't found that airplane yet.
Now listen to this. No one knows how much debris makes up the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. The North Pacific Subtropical Gyre, and I think that's the one on the right up there, is too large for scientists to trawl. In addition, not all trash floats on the surface. Denser debris can sink centimeters or even several meters beneath the surface, making the vortex's area nearly impossible to measure. So no one knows how much junk is out there. And I wish that we could send ships out there to get it, you know, because get it out of the ocean. But I see that that would be a tremendous undertaking.
Well, in just a little while, we're going to see a short video about some folks that are trying to do that. But in the meantime, let me mention that at some point, and I didn't write down the reference, but that somebody has made an island out of plastic milk bottles. They have gotten them and somehow anchored them and made their own island. And I don't know if they put dirt on top or sand or whatever, but I might look that up and mention that in a future show.
It's really scary. And back to your point about a lot of the stuff comes from us here on the land, you know, throwing stuff in the streams and the rivers. It says here about 80% of the debris in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch comes from land-based activities in North America and Asia. Trash from the coast of North America takes about 6 years to reach the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, while trash from Japan and other Asian countries takes only about a year. So, yes, we are, and the remaining 20% comes from boaters, offshore oil rigs, and large cargo ships that dump or lose debris directly into the water. So only 20% comes from a shipping source that's actually on the water in the Pacific. The rest comes from us with our little plastic drinking bottles and bags.
Well, that's a good lead-in to Alex's words about plastic water bottles. Maybe we can have that next.
Well, I suppose we could probably work that out. I've thought about that a lot. You know, I don't use them very much, if at all. But the idea that something doesn't biodegrade, such as a water bottle or a plastic grocery bag, is scary.
Now I'd like to introduce you to the wild woman of plastics in Athens County. If she ever catches you drinking water from a plastic bottle, she may speak to you. But she's very impassioned about plastic and its unnecessary uses. So how long have you been plastic allergic?
Maybe 30 years. I remember there was an art exhibit in Philadelphia. A woman saved all the plastic she purchased over the course of a year. One of my problems is that
it's done that to me, I don't know how many times.
I like yogurt, but you can't buy it except in a plastic container that is not conventionally recycled. And even if it were recyclable, like these plastic bottles, maybe 15% of them get recycled, it's not a clean process. It's dirty making the process, the plastic, It's dirty transporting it. It's dirty recycling it, melting it down into pellets or whatever
And
they
by
do.
dirty, you don't mean dirt,
I mean pollution.
pollution. Okay. And you have been outspoken about this. Do people ever cringe when they see you coming or hide their water bottle?
I'm afraid I saw our state representative speaking at a fracking meeting sporting one of these plastic bottles. And then again, she spoke to our fellowship, and I was the first one to say, this has happened before. Of course, you can say, oh, I filled it at home. I didn't buy it. They probably give them away for free at the State House. But it sends the wrong message, even if you do refill it. There's no excuse for every thrift shop has lots of steel or permanent plastic containers that you can fill up and carry your water around.
Did you say permanent plastic?
Well, more than reusable, but a plastic water bottle. And some of them are of safer plastic that you could heat up, that won't contaminate you. I think it's unpatriotic not to drink your city's water. Years and years ago in New York, I went to an exercise studio, and the woman leading the exercise had a plastic bottle of water. And she thought this was great. She's into health. She just didn't see it.
Do you say it was unpatriotic to drink your local water?
No, not to drink it.
It was unpatriotic not to drink it. Oh, yeah, that's what I meant.
Hey, Matt, can you tell me?
We're on the air now.
Oh, well, just stop it. Just stop it.
So I never thought about it that way, that it would be unpatriotic to not drink your local water.
Unless it has methane in it, like in areas that are fracked and can combust, we should have enough confidence in our public water supplies to drink them. And oftentimes, those plastic bottles that cost about 1,000 times what your water from your tap costs, because it comes from some water system, and it's not necessarily any purer than yours. And there's enormous transportation costs. It's just, what are they going to be selling air next? I grew up, there were water fountains everywhere. Nobody gave a thought. Nobody carried around water. It didn't seem necessary. You spend half your life in school, there's water fountains in every hall. I'm sounding like an old person, but things were better back then. I only wish that we, as a country, had continued the recycling that was going on during World War II. It's taken, 50 years to kind of get recycling mainstreamed.
Well, we are making moves towards not contaminating our water supplies now, right? With the fracking business.
Well, all these farmers with their fertilizer running off into the Ohio, into the Mississippi, forming this enormous dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico where nothing can live because there's no oxygen. All those nutrients use up all the
What's the
oxygen.
answer to that? That's pretty big enterprise.
Slow release fertilizers, just not using chemicals in farming. Go to the Organic Farmers Conference, compost. I compost every day. I carry buckets out of my kitchen full of dishwater with my vegetable peelings, my coffee grounds, my tea bags. I throw it on the pile with the leaves. New soil.
You're very patriotic.
I'm very strange. I don't think a lot of people shower over a bucket.
Thanks again. Well, those folks in that boat down by the beach are certainly dedicated. And, you know, I tape Poets Corner every 2 weeks, and it has its own program at 10 a.m. 5 days a week. And some of the poetry is just too good to play just on one program. And I have, from time to time, with several programs, snitched a little bit of footage for Kaleidoscope. Because Kaleidoscope is, if you've ever looked on a kaleidoscope, a little bit of things going together into different patterns and surprises. So now, before we talk more about lighter things, I'd like to go to Sven Lindskold's poem, and I can't remember her last name, but you'll hear it because he will mention it. Take it away, Sven.
Malala. Oh, Malala, we long to protect you. Oh, Malala, but you protect us, our values, our principles, our fantasies of resolve. Oh, Malala. Oh, by the way, she's Irish now, you know. Oh, Malala, you are still a child, but more of a wise adult than most adults, knowing the full value of education for all children. Oh, Malala, shot in the head by dim brutes, a tender, undeveloped mind shattered. Would you fade in fear and hiding? Who would expect that girl, face half bandaged, head turbaned with a swollen bandage, could ever move again in ordinary life? Yet you walked out to all the world, told your story, and proclaimed your true principles from global podiums. Ever an inspiring leader. She established a new life as a student in England, and not weakened by preposterous criticism, took all the praise and the Nobel Peace Prize in stride. Malala, it may comfort your shattered head, but I doubt the wearing of head cover eases your mind. You are strong and independent and need not bow to restrictions on wisdom. Oh, Malala, as you study into your long life ahead, we will watch you as best we can, hoping this Nobel, your frame, and all the adoration will never trip you.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Well, that was very moving, and Sven sounded just a little angry, which is appropriate.
Yes.
And I have read that the people back in her home country feel that she has turned against them and she is not their heroine anymore. She's not, and as Sven said, she's living, I think, in Ireland or England, I forget which is too bad. But I will share something with you all. When I sit at my computer at Access and wait for something to download or don't have anything else to do, my hobby is to go through programs and pick out stills from different programs to show. And to me, that is an excellent way to let the public know the kinds of things that they may have been missing on Access. So I go through scads of old shows and pick out really interesting or touching or exciting or sad little clips, 4-second clips, and put them together with music in the background. And I think that I have enough to play about 10 minutes worth.
Wow, that's a lot.
Oh, well, you can mess with them. I've got a really great one, a close-up of one of the dogs at the dog swim with the tennis ball in his mouth. Mm-hmm. And I probably have some of Jane. I know.
I was just going to say, am I in this? Am I going to be shocked?
If you're not, I will. And I try to get expressions. A lot of them are happy faces because I know that people might get their nose out of joint if I put an embarrassing picture on.
Well, yes.
So I try not to do that. But, and the music I put on is just the music we have because we can't use copyrighted music. But I had an idea this week. It would be so neat when we wave goodbye to play the last of Goodbye, Farewell.
Oh, yeah.
What is that from? Sound of Music. That would be so neat to have that playing in the background as we wave goodbye.
Well, I don't know.
That got nixed
Yeah, I don't
because
think the studio wants to pay for that or could afford to pay for it.
Yeah, right.
Sadly, unfortunately. Well, so are we going to see this collage of faces anytime soon?
Yes, we will see it. Do you want to see it before or after the show?
Well, it doesn't make any difference to me. It is what it is. You're not going to change it.
Yeah. Well, why don't we show it after you tell me what you've been reading?
Oh, well, now, whew, that was a shock.
Well, have you been going to the movies instead of reading?
Well, I have gone to the movies, yes. And I talked about St. Vincent, the most recent good movie that I've been to. And I'm going to go to another one this weekend, so I may have something.
Can I interrupt you just a minute? When you said that you had a Kindle kind of thing and you got free books on it, what did the authors get?
I don't know.
I mean, I have some investment in that, in knowing what if something is listed on Amazon, are they just going to give the books away?
If it's listed as free, they do. Yeah.
Well, how about the authors?
I can't tell you. I don't know. All I know is from time to time, Amazon sends me an email with information about books that are free that day. Not forever, but that day. So I go, if I'm interested, I go that day and download one.
And you get it absolutely free?
Absolutely free. All I have to do is click on it and click again to download and zip. It's on my iPad. So I have no idea. I assume that Amazon must have an agreement with the authors to say, okay, today your book is going to be free, or they couldn't do it.
That's only if the book comes out in Kindle. So if
In
an
the
author
format.
says they won't allow it to come out in Kindle, then their books won't be given away.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
that's
I'm
true.
glad for you that they're given away, but I'm thinking about the authors.
Well, it's not all the time. It's
Yeah.
only once in a blue moon that they
What
do
if
it.
they're like you? You really, would you get more than one book at the time?
No, not usually. They aren't usually things I'm interested in. So for me, I'll go and look. I look at the list of titles that Amazon gives me that are free. And then if anything sparks my interest, I go and look at it on Amazon.
Well, once you talked about Goodreads, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean,
Tell me about that.
there's all kind. BookBub is another one. There's all kinds of websites now dedicated to promoting books that people might be interested in.
Or book reviews.
Yeah,
And people sponsor their own spot on there that you can follow and see what books they're reading.
yes, on Goodreads, that's true.
Okay.
And
Are
there's-
you on Goodreads?
No. I mean, I go there and look at stuff, but I don't submit copy to Goodreads.
Uh-huh.
BookBub, B-U-B, is another one.
B-O-M-B? B-U-M.
BookBub, B-U-B, BookBub.
BookBub. Huh.
That's another one. The trouble with these for me is I have such specific interests that, you know, a lot of what they promote is not within an area that I'm interested. So I don't.
Well, I don't know if you like
attention.
spy novels and mystery novels.
Yes, I do.
Then that's quite a bit.
Yes, but only specific ones. And there's
Oh.
a group of authors that I read all the time. And I'm always looking for new authors, but I'm very hard to please. So
Very picky.
yes, so I don't find them.
Who's your top 5 authors?
Daniel Silva is number 1 in the sort of spy area. Well, no, excuse me. Let me take that back. John le Carré is number 1 in the spy area, as far as I'm concerned. Daniel Silva, you can't really say that his are spies. He writes about is a group of Israeli, what could you call them? They are spies in the sense that they go into a country and spy, but they're also assassins.
Uh-oh.
So they're an Israeli secret force that is used to go out and to search for
And kill.
and sometimes kill, not always, but sometimes kill people, mostly men, who have done something that is totally unacceptable to the world and to the Israeli high command. So his books are fabulous. I love him. He's a wonderful writer. The books are fantastic. That you learn a lot. I like to read something that I learn something from. You know, like, for instance, something that has mystery and history
Yeah.
is great for me. I really like that. You know, or mystery and information. Dan Brown, who wrote, you know, all those novels that were so popular, Da Vinci Code and so forth. I really enjoy those. He's not the world's best writer, in my opinion, but what I learn from the books is wonderful. I read them a couple times usually.
And historical novels, that's true also.
Yeah. Some historical novels I really do like, and some I enjoy, but some, they're either kind of boring because they get too much into the history and the facts, and I'm not really into that. I like the ones that try to talk about the personality, you know, and
Right.
develop that sort of thing. Just all that dry stuff about, you know, they went here and there and the other where and blah, blah, doesn't. I had one, see now you asked me this too quick. I need to get my iPhone and see what the title of that book was. But anyways, I read one that was fascinating in both regards and pretty well written. And that was about Marie Antoinette's daughter, who survived the French Revolution.
Wow.
And that was a really interesting, that had everything. It had intrigue, it had mystery, it had pathos, it had everything you could think of. Because, you know, she actually saw her parents beheaded, and she survived. Her brother died in captivity at the place where they held them. So she was the only survivor of the family. So that was fascinating. And then what she did with her life after the revolution. And she got married and different things, what happened to her, which I never knew. I didn't know one thing about her. I really didn't even know. I knew Marie Antoinette had children, but I didn't think about too much about who were they or anything. So that was really fascinating. So there, stuff like that is, and sometimes it's a one-shot deal. I don't know that author has ever written anything else. I should find out.
At one time, when I was growing up, I kept a bibliography by the year of what I read.
Yeah, that's a good. I wish I had done that.
And I know that there were several books that I read, novels set in Napoleon's time.
Ah.
So I got to hear about Napoleon and his world from different viewpoints, and that was really interesting.
Yeah, I like that too. You can follow somebody. I read a series of books when I was really young, just barely in college, by an author called Lawrence Durrell, and he wrote something called the Alexandria Quartet. And here a few years ago, on one of my cruises, I went to Alexandria, Egypt. This all took place in Alexandria, Egypt. And so I read the books again. After I had been in Alexandria, Egypt, I read the books again. And I got to say, they held up pretty well. The style is somewhat dated. They're not modern. But if you step back from that.
Well, that's true of all the classics, I guess.
And these to me are classics.
Yeah.
And Lawrence Durrell is fabulous. He's right up there with John le Carré as far as I'm concerned.
I'm glad you pronounced that because I would have said le Carré. So
Oh, really?
I've been corrected
Well, it's French.
by the lady that looks like a schoolmarm and used
It
to
has
be.
been.
I know.
Has been.
Yes.
But one of the things that I find interesting about myself, I should keep a list. I think keeping a list is really smart. And if you're an avid reader like I am, you really should. But I don't. And I often think, why don't you do that? Why don't you take a minute and sit down at the computer and create
Every day. Yeah, you gotta keep,
pretty much get in front of it every day,
Yeah.
But for some reason I don't. So one of these days maybe I will, and I'll see if I can go back in time and find some of these books that I have loved over time and put them in my list, maybe read them again. Some of the classics I really loved when I was an English major in college and read a lot of stuff, just because I was an English major.
Now, I really knew how to pull Jane's chain, didn't I? Would you like to see some of my faces?
Well, yes, I'd love to. Not mine, though. I don't want to see
We'll
mine.
see that you get on there at some point.
Okay, take your time with that.
Okay. Okay, and we decided we wanted to see that. Why don't we see that after we sign off?
Okay, that sounds good.
That'd be good.
You can just run that.
Yeah. So, how does that song go? Goodbye, farewell. It's time for us to leave you.
Well, that's probably enough. I don't know how much of it you can sing without
I do.
saying
I do.
Copyright.
Copyrighted by.
Copyrighted. I tell you what we have to do. We'll make our own song.
Okay.
That way we won't
like
have
the
to
Mickey
worry.
Mouse song. And
Yes.
when I was young, I used to listen to the breakfast table. Around the breakfast table. I forget how that goes, but that was, they all
probably,
sang.
Right. It's probably
Good morning.
copyrighted anyway. So I'll write a song for us. How's that?
Oh, all right.
And we'll put it to the music of Amazing Grace or something that's way outside of copyright.
All right, you've got something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Athens.
Don't hold your breath. I'll see what I can do.
So for now, goodbye, and we're going to look at some Faces from Access.
Faces from Access. That's a good title. Okay, enjoy that, Athens, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
I was feeling low down, dirty and mean, 'cause I'd been working deep inside the big machine. Tried to find some honest answers in the television box, but nobody there would listen. They just talk, 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 until one night, quite by accident, I found, while remotely flipping channels all around, it was my friend from down the street, and he was sitting on a couch. He was playing his guitar, and he was letting it all hang out. And he sang, "You can do it too, you can do what I'm doing, you can put your message on community TV. Get yourself some public access, you won't hardly have to practice. Just believe in what you're saying and your creativity." Now with all the foolishness that's going down today, there's lots of things that I've been meaning to say. There's only so long you can hold it in before you pop your cork, but we can't all be David Letterman and broadcast from New York. And so I went to see my guitar playing neighbor, and I said, "What is this public access where you labor?" He said, "Here, you take this camera out and document your views. Give us footage when you're ready. You're on opposite the news." And then he sang, "You can do it too. You can do what I'm doing. You can put your message on community TV. Get yourself some public access. You won't hardly have to practice. Just have faith in what you're saying and your creativity." Oh well, I went and shot 3 pussycats, 2 paper boys, 1 mailman, and a woman walking to the park with their children and back, an older couple strolling, and a pack of rowdy boys. Then I mixed it all together with some slides and happy noise. Now not everyone has cable, I know, so not everyone can see my picture show. But who knows, there might be one sad person all alone somewhere, out there flipping through the channels, wondering if nobody cares, and perhaps they accidentally found me, and just maybe heard me singing on TV, and then said, "I don't have to focus on the networks anymore. I'll go get some public access just to even up the score. Because you can do it too, you can do what I'm doing. You can put your message on community TV. Get yourself some public access, you won't hardly have to practice. Just believe in what you're saying and your creativity. I mean to say you can do it too, you can do what we're doing. You can put your message on community TV. Get yourself some public access. You won't hardly have to practice. Just have faith in what you're saying and your creativity. Oh, get yourself some public access. You won't hardly have to practice. Just believe in what you're saying and you are creativity.